IT politics. Hope everyone's having a great Friday. I want to talk a little bit about an update to a story that came out on Wednesday in The Guardian, where basically it talked about how there was this historic vote where 62% of the Exxon Mobil shareholders voted for more transparency about the cost of climate change in Exxon Mobil. So, yes, 62%, a majority of their shareholders voted that the company be more open about the impact of climate change on its business. Apparently, Exxon Mobil fought their own shareholders tooth and nail on this. This vote came in response to Trump's, at this point on Wednesday, pending decision to pull out of the Paris Accord, an agreement where nearly 200 countries agreed to curb climate change. It's a little watered down. To put it mildly, I understand that, but it was something, and Trump yesterday did pull out of it. You can watch me and Jordan's response to him pulling out of it at that point. From The Guardian, the vote to more clearly report how climate change affects ExxonMobil's business comes as investors are increasingly demanding companies disclose the likely impact of global warming, and follows the passing of similar proposals at two smaller energy companies earlier this month. Edward Mason, head of responsible investment at Church Commissioners for England, which led the vote, said shareholders were showing how out of step the Trump administration had become on climate change. Interesting. Trump is acting contrary to Wall Street and the world's largest investors, he said. Climate change is a material financial risk, and shareholders want to know how companies will manage the change to low carbon economy. Last year, the same proposal was backed by just 38% of the shareholders in Exxon Mobil. So obviously, this is a direct response to the Trump administration and to that decision. And do you think that an overwhelming majority of the shareholders would have changed their position if there was not a financial incentive involved? Absolutely not. I mean, Edward Mason says it right there, basically, that climate change poses a financial risk to the rest of the world. It is not just a moral obligation that we have to save the planet, the shareholders are saying. It's going to hurt our pocketbooks, and that's how people respond in these instances. But how is it going to hurt their pocketbooks? And how does it hurt the shareholders' pocketbooks versus Exxon Mobil, the company? We shall see. This decision by Trump hurts specific business interests in addition to the planet. And again, if you thought these shareholders were just regular rich folks, you are sorely mistaken. From the Washington Post, ExxonMobil's leading shareholders are the investment management companies BlackRock and Vanguard, which collectively control over $9 trillion of the world's assets. The shareholder rebellion at the ExxonMobil annual meeting in Dallas was led by those major financial advisory firms and fund managers who had traditionally played passive roles. So they're playing active roles now because climate change and those carbon costs are going to hurt their long-term profits, as these investment management companies believe. So they are looking at the long term. I believe, and I think pretty correctly, that ExxonMobil is purely looking at the short term. BlackRock and Vanguard, those investment management companies, are the biggest shareholders in ExxonMobil, owning 13% or $43.6 billion. That's 13% of that company. That's insane. Of the company's stock. The vote by them against management marked an important step for groups that have been trying to force corporations to adopt greater disclosure and transparency about the financial fallout of climate change. So again, it's not the planet, it's not the trees, it's not our air, it's nothing like that. It's not the temperature, it's their pocketbooks. I'm going to take it, but it's interesting how the Trump administration is so cozy with financial institutions when we don't want them to be, and when we need them to be, they're just not. So that's frustrating, but I will continue. New York Comptroller Thomas P. DiNapoli, representing the New York Common Retirement Fund, an ExxonMobil shareholder, said in a statement, "Climate change is one of the greatest long-term risks we face in our portfolio and has a direct impact on the core business of ExxonMobil. The burden is now on ExxonMobil to respond swiftly and demonstrate that it takes shareholder concerns about climate change risks seriously." But here's the kicker. So that all happened on Wednesday, where the shareholders rebelled against ExxonMobil. Exxon Mobil, if they were to be honest and real about the impacts of climate change that their business has, they're polluting the country and the entire globe immensely. If they were to be truly honest, that would be a problem for them. Then maybe they would be in violation of certain statutes, and maybe it would really hurt their short-term profits if they were to actually apply with the Paris Accord. So one, again, it might hurt their core profits, and two, it would show that they might have been lying all along. So this came out today in the Wall Street Journal. Let me find it here. Okay. New York's Attorney General, who, full disclosure, my dad works for him, Schneiderman. New York's Attorney General alleged in court papers Friday that Exxon Mobil may have misled investors about how it accounts for the impact of climate change on operations by using internal estimates that differed from its public statements. Disclosing for the first time some of the specific evidence his office has collected in this long-running probe of the oil giant, New York Attorney General Eric Schneiderman claimed he found documents and other information showing Exxon's process for estimating the potential future costs of greenhouse gas regulations on this business may be a sham, you don't say. At the center of the claims the New York State prosecutor made Friday is one of Exxon's central assurances to investors on climate change risk, that since 2007, the company has included a proxy cost of carbon in its assessment of the viability of its oil and gas projects. We see where this is going, huh? This is an estimate of how much governments around the world may charge Exxon or other companies or consumers for the carbon dioxide they emit through the carbon tax or other emission fees. Such assessments can have a material impact on how an energy company values its assets. With a higher estimated cost of carbon, certain projects could become unprofitable, potentially requiring an accounting write-down or recognition of losses on company books, which obviously is of great interest to its shareholders. Mr. Schneiderman alleges that from 2010 to 2014, documents indicate that the company used secret internal figures that understated potential future costs from climate regulations, even while suggesting publicly that it used higher estimates. The company said in a 2014 report that it applied a cost of $60 per ton of greenhouse gas emissions in 2030 to its projects in developed countries. The state prosecutor filed documents with the court Friday that appear to show that it actually used the price of $40 a ton internally. So publicly said 60, internally 40. In 2010, an Exxon employee identified as a corporate greenhouse gas manager said in an email that the $60 ton figure used for Exxon's annual energy outlook was more realistic, according to documents released with the filing. So publicly they are saying it's $40, internally it's $60 for that cost. So to me, look, these investors want to make money in the long term. And that's why they rebelled. They're saying, you're not being upfront about these costs, you are not adapting. Exxon Mobil wants to just milk out the profits in the short term. And basically what they were saying is we can skirt around this Paris Climate Agreement. That's why they didn't oppose it. That's why they were, for it. We can publicly say we are for this Paris Climate Agreement. Behind the scenes, cook the books, essentially, and lie about how much our carbon costs are. And so these investors who are major financial firms who want long-term profits, again, that are going to exceed through 2030, through 2040, are saying, we know you're not being upfront about this, and you've got to be honest. So again, and it's unbelievable to me, Rex Tillerson is the Secretary of State of the United States, the former CEO of Exxon Mobil. And I'm actually trying to look up because when was he the CEO? Was he the CEO during these times of these lies? It could be very interesting. Yes, I knew he was the CEO until he became Secretary of State 2017, but during that entire time, yes, Rex Tillerson was the CEO. So people are saying Schneiderman is doing this for political reasons. Who knows, maybe, but the writing's on the wall. ExxonMobil was not truthful to their shareholders. They're not truthful to the public. And the shareholders rebelled. They were basically like, come on, you have to be more upfront so we can make informed financial decisions going forward. It's not too often that I side with Wall Street, but I'm siding with these investment firms in this case, especially because it's on the side of the planet. Just some interesting catfights internally at Exxon Mobil, and it also goes to show how easily corporations can skirt these agreements, can skirt these laws, and really face no consequences. So, anyway, guys, just wanted to give you that story. Thought it was very fascinating. It's not the sexiest topic, but I think really informed everybody. So have a great day. Have a great weekend. Love you all. Thanks for watching.